Hello,
Live.
Irene Emily. How are ya?
I'm really good, Oliver. How are you?
Cool. It's good to see you.
And you? Yeah.
Maybe, maybe I'll start by just saying that I had the privilege of attending one of your intuitive body painting workshop at Lila Center, and I really got a lot out of it. So maybe you could start by, to those who haven't done it, maybe you could start by describing what it is and how you came up with it,
Okay, that's cool. So I might actually just
Yeah.
change my internet connection in case. Yeah. This is. I don't know if it's coming through properly, but
Yeah, it's cool. Is it Mercury retrograde? We seem to be having problems with the computers and stuff. That's funny.
I'm back.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yes, the retrograde. It's screwing with everything. Yeah. So I remember the workshop that you came to, Oliver. And
Yeah.
Workshop that you came to. Yeah, that was a good one. I've been holding them at Lila, and I've done about 4 self-hosted ones, and a few others at a few festivals. And the idea of it is that it's intuitive body painting. So as a group, we kind of pair off, and a lot of people say that they haven't really been body painted or done body painting since they were a child. And that's like a little bit of feedback that I really love, because it's kind of being playful and releasing your creativity a little bit. So I feel like that's part of why I'm here. That's part of my soul journey, is to awaken that playfulness in people. So the workshops really allow people to open up and be creative, and I go through a process of how to get to that point, and release a lot of internal guards that we have around being creative. A lot of people don't consider themselves creative, and that's just merely a judgment. It doesn't mean anything. So that can be proven wrong in so many ways. So the workshops and the work that I do one-on-one sessions as well. So the idea is that I'm intuitively reading someone's energy, and then painting that reading onto their body, onto wherever position or place that might be on their body. And sometimes, before I get to that point, we might be, I might feel to do, a bit of a shoulder massage, or massage certain muscles. So there's a little bit of, like, I'm not trained in kinesiology, but I would imagine that's a little bit of a crossover of practices there. So it's I was offering this service at parties at the Lila Center, and they asked me to come again, and it just grew from there. And now I've done intuitive body art, offering as a party enhancer, with the Lila Center, the Temple, Lost Paradise Festival, Burning Seed, the folks at Jasper from Ecstatic Sunsets as well. I did a workshop for. So so people have really been loving them, and I feel really honoured and really blessed to be giving that kind of gift to people, because they at first, they walk into the workshop doors and they're all like, what's going on? Am I going to have to take all my how naked do we have to be? It's like, no, you don't have to be naked. People just have fun. There's a bit of a giggle in there. So it's good.
I can attest to that. I can attest to that in my own experience of the workshop. At first, when I was, because I think we take turns in painting and being painted. And I remember when I first started, I was using the brush, and they're intuitive rather than it's like a formal thing. And
your connection is a little bit.
and in my experience, I really got into it. Yeah, it's okay. It will straighten
There we go.
itself. Can you hear me?
Yes, that's good. Just as I said it, it was like, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
I
It
gotta
will.
do it now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's the internet. The thing travels in packets. So sometimes the packets are delayed, but they'll assemble themselves. It's a bit like organic workshops. They just so anyway, like so as I was saying, like I really got into the workshop I attended with you when kind of like my neocortex or my adult brain turned off a bit and just be a child again and just see what feels good. And weirdly enough, what felt good at the end also looked forms of art without pre-planning it or anything like that. So that was my experience.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. But yeah, that's and that,
What kind of feedback have you gotten from mm,
from attendees.
from previous participants? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. People have generally finished it and left feeling very light and very playful, and I can just like the faces and the energy changes in people. It's usually what happens when you enter an event where you don't really know many people. You kind of have a little bit of a guard on because you're thinking, I don't really know anyone, and there's always that kind of a bit of a tense. It's not overly tense even, but it's just being like hyper aware about yourself and about other people. So by the end of the workshop, it's been a couple of
Mhm.
hours, and we've meditated with each other, and we've done a little bit of eye gazing, and after a couple of hours, people tend to feel a little bit more relaxed and at home, and it's not just like you're sitting and listening to someone speak for a couple of hours, because there's no connection there. These
Mm.
the exercises that I walk people through is based on them connecting with each other. So by the end of the workshop, they're feeling very open and very connected, and
Mm.
some of them are like, "Can we just stay longer?" It's like, well, I wish you could, but so and so and I have a
Yeah.
lot of people asking me when my next one is. So the feedback has been very positive so far. Yeah.
Awesome. So expanding from that, have you always been creative as a child when you were growing up? Or is it something that you discovered recently or relatively recently? Or have you always been like this since you came of age or something?
That's an interesting question. Yeah. So I think uh, I think when people
Mm.
I think when people say creative, they immediately think of drawing or painting, or
Mm-hmm.
artistic. Um, and I was an
Mm.
artistic child, and people who consider themselves artistic or creative might think that they're very good with art. Yes, they might consider themselves very good with art or technically able with art. So I was really interested in art growing up, and that was kind of where I found my comfort in art as well. So that
Mm-hmm.
was for me. But creativity, when we talk about creativity, it's not just about being artistic. So there's a lot of creative things that I do that aren't
Mm.
aesthetically pleasing, or there's a lot of creativity that I do that isn't necessarily, if you were to put a judgment on it, not good or not. Do you know what I mean? So creativity, to put it simply, and this is what I teach in the workshops as well. When we're being creative, um,
Mm.
where where being creative is just making something out of things. So making something out of what's in front of you. So I give the examples of
Mm.
cooking dinner for yourself. That's being creative, cooking,
Yep.
or deciding what to put in your sandwich, or deciding what to wear for the day. That's being creative as well. So when you think of
Mm.
creativity on that level, it's actually like, well, I've been creative my whole life, and so have you,
Mm.
and so has everybody else. Everybody has creativity. They just, I think when they think creativity, they have to have a paintbrush in their hand and paint like Monet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's this stigma around that kind of thing, and when we realize that we're already being creative, it's actually quite easy to let ourselves be playful in that as well. If I can make myself a sandwich this morning, then I can, put some colors together on somebody's arm. It's becomes on the same level. So
Mm,
I only really started to understand this kind of conversation over the
mm,
past few years, and it was when I started to do this painting around about a year ago that I really started to delve into what it was that I was serving people with, and what place that was coming from within me as well. So, when I found that I was facilitating an area and a space where people were feeling free to be playful, I was realizing that I was actually giving them a space to be creative, not necessarily artistic. So that's where all of the barriers start to come down as well.
mm,
To create
mm.
something beautiful, you just have to create something out of the connection that you feel with someone, and that in itself is ironically the beautiful thing. So, out of, oh, it has to be amazing, and what if they don't like it? Just completely dissipate because you're like immersed in this connection. It's like it's actually not about painting at all. The funny thing. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah, it's
this
just an excuse to connect, really, in
yeah,
any kind of.
correct. And everybody likes, getting a little bit messy with their hands. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Tell us what other things you do in your creative life, because yeah, if our whole life is creative, then I guess it would express in different ways. I understand you're also doing branding and graphic design. Is that true? Am I correct
Yeah,
in that understanding?
that's right. Yeah. So I'll answer the second question first and go into the other avenues that I do. So I'm a graphic designer and brand specialist. So
Mm,
for work, and I've been doing this for about 8 years now. Um, in my work, I've
mm,
been a problem solver, but visually. So with my work, I I am designing and creating beautiful things, and in the
mm.
past, I've been doing work that needs to be beautiful for the sake of being beautiful, without substance or without connection or without intelligence or a deeper meaning to it. And I was realizing that for me to feel fulfilled, I needed to do work that was meaningful and that created connection with people. So in my work as a designer and as a brand creator, I realized that you know um, visuals and art have a very powerful place in a person. Um, and and actually, when I was doing some branding for people within the spiritual and conscious space, I realized that I was energy reading them to design for them. So I would meet with them.
Mm,
They would be emitting things like aqua colors, or they would be emitting certain types of shapes. And when I would design for them, that reading, that they would love that.
mm,
That I would give them, four different
mm,
options, and they would go for the one that I'd be reading them on. So without realizing that I'm reading them, I just think about what would represent them in a brand form, and I realized that I was doing that in my work as well, and this painting and these workshops are just kind of like an extension of that to like the extreme degree. Yeah, I'm like 100% in. I'm all
yeah.
yeah. And in terms of like other things that I do and being creative outside of that, um, I creativity is a theme in my life. So I feel like I'm always looking for ways that I can stretch myself in terms of how creative, or um, how can I create something out of seemingly ordinary objects, and um,
Mm, mm,
kind of part of interest that I have as well. But um, I so I kind of like challenging myself. So a part of being creative as well is about having confidence and being
mm,
courageous and willing to step into a space where you might do something that you haven't done before. So I kind of cover that in the workshop as well. I don't know,
mm,
if you cover, Oliver, but I talk about if you haven't done this before, and I just invite you to maybe roll up your sleeves a little bit so that people can paint a little bit higher. Because when we step into a place of, when we're courageous about the small things, do something that we haven't done before on a small level, like body, it allows us to be more courageous on bigger levels as well. We can actually expand that on a bigger level. So, if I haven't done body painting before, and I go to this workshop, and I have to come out of my comfort zone a little bit to participate. So I'm there, I'm out of my comfort zone, and I think to myself, well, that was a really pleasant experience, and I liked that challenge. That was I felt myself grow out of that. So then I might think to myself, maybe I can put in an application for that job I've had my eye on, or maybe I can, maybe I can try that I've been wanting to do. Maybe I can learn that language that I've been wanting to learn. It gives us courage and encourages us to challenge ourselves in bigger ways as well. So where was I going with that? Yes. So that's part of how I incorporate creativity into my life as well. I think of what can I do to challenge myself, and how can I create something out of that. Having that theme in my life, I've played the guitar a little bit as well. I've self-taught myself with guitar and a couple of YouTube videos. I thought it would be cool if I could do that. After a couple of months, you get to learn the chords properly, and
awesome.
It's been a really fun avenue for me as well. So now, you can make up songs, or you can make up different progressions, or whatever it is. I've got I went and bought a pair of bongo drums. I don't know how to play them, right? A couple of YouTube videos, a little bit of confidence, and a little bit of determination, and by the time you know it, you've got another channel for you to be able to express yourself and be creative and try new things. So and there's a couple of crafts things I do as well. I'd really love to actually show. I don't know if this is going to be work, but I'll just turn you
There's
over
only
here.
one way to find out.
There's only one way to find out. So I actually want to show you. In here is all of my craft stuff, right? I'll just angle you.
Wow.
Okay, so this is kind of this is the where all the magic happens. So you can see my kind of my body paints.
This is Diagon Alley.
Diagon Alley. Step into my.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I just collect random things. You never know what you can make out of it, right? Now, one of the other things I really love, like I have a really kind of connection with nature as well. So I've been collecting all sorts of natural, these sticks. I feel like I'm going to be running a workshop about
found items or wood. Are you're gonna run a workshop about found items, or something about wood, or something else? Maybe I didn't hear properly.
So it's still kind of fermenting in my mind at the moment, but the idea is that I'm thinking of running a workshop or craft workshop on creating with nature objects. So one moment I was an aftershot. This is something that I created, and I'll just walk you through it. So this is actually I call it my power stick, right? I call it my power stick, and I've used kind of bits of found glass and.
Is that lavender?
It's lavender, yeah. So lavender actually lasts a long time, and hangs up on my wall. And what I've done is I've put string around there, and I've actually printed out photos of really momentous times in my life that really have inspired me. So these are the things that I can look at and think to myself, wow, like I've done some really amazing things, and I can feel gratitude for my life and where I've been. So something like that, it's something that I've just randomly made out of nature, and found objects, and something that really empowered, really powerful. So, yeah, that, like, maybe I can run a power stick workshop, for example. You know.
Yeah, I love it because hmm, hmm. I like that because I've been observing that a lot of things in our lives, our memories, are being pixelized. They're disappearing into the digital world, and they can all be wiped out. Should there be like a solar flare or something like that, and we cease having tangible items like that power stick
Yeah, something physical.
that's not inside the device. You know what I mean? It's physical. It's tactile. So I think that in that sense, and kind of merging the biological with the cultural. I like it. It's good. I think, yeah, I think there's something there. I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah. Something, like you said, something physical that people can actually touch, because there's, even with this, like, you know, that feature on Facebook that says, you know, on this day, certain amount of years ago, this happened. All of your memories are on digital devices.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what happened to a good photograph? You know. Yeah, something tangible. You know, I think
Yeah.
we're not used to it.
Yeah.
We're
And
not used to interacting with something. Yeah.
something just came to me as you were as you were telling or showing us all these things and telling your stories. And one of my meditation teachers said before, like, we're one person, and then really how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that I think what the one of the not so good side effects, or what would you call that? One of the not so good, side effects of the 20th century is we've been conditioned to divide ourselves. This is my personal life. This is my work persona. They're separate. You know what I mean? Like, it's like when you enter the office, you kind of remove all your personal personality that you live at home. You know, it makes us divided, but that kind of creates a dissonance inside our head, moving through these different contexts. And I think I like that the fact that now that we're in the 21st century, I think we're coming back to just being one person. And another thing I remember is a workshop I attended with Neil Strauss. And so before he did the workshop, he didn't say anything. He just said, I think he did say, oh, do rearrange the chair this way, and clean the room, everyone. How they did it? How did they get the chair? Like, did they try to do it as fast as they can? Did they elbow other people? Did they help other people? And it kind of, and then after we've done all the physical movement, and then he talked about, yeah, how you acted and related to that chair indicates how would you act to other things, other relationship in your life, like your partner, your intimate, your family. So it's interesting how we could observe ourselves. Am I one, or am I divided within me? What can you say about that?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's some truth to that, Oliver. It's very insightful. So, yeah, I really love that. Like, this is also something that I've really explored within myself as well. Like, I've done a lot of inner exploration, and a lot of people might call me crazy, but yeah.
Mm.
So, yeah, I think there is.
I think it's a badge of honor.
Honor, yeah, it takes guts to go into different sides of yourself, for sure. But yeah, I think there is something to be said about
Yeah.
how we segregate ourselves in order to fill certain roles in our life. But at the end of the day, you know, like you say, if we put the chairs in a certain way and how we behave in that way, we are who we are at the end of the day. So,
Yeah.
you know, that separation is something, you know, from work and personal, is something that I've experienced myself in the past. And you know,
Mm.
at the end of the day, you are you. You are you, and so long as you're staying true to
Mm.
yourself and in your actions and in your behavior and in your feelings, you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. And you know, if you're in a position where
Mm.
you do feel that you're playing out two halves of yourself, then one of those halves may not be, you know, behaving or deciding in a way that your heart feels that you should. And I've been in that kind of situation as well, where
Mhm.
I've said something, and
Mm.
or I've made a decision, and I know in my heart that the decision is actually meant to be the opposite, and that's I think start to become unhappy because they're
Mm.
not letting,
Mhm.
you know, their true deepest desires and truths to be lived through themselves. I think that's what really makes someone feel like they're whole, and someone feel like their sides are in unison. You know, it doesn't mean that you don't have the two sides or three sides or four
Mhm.
sides of yourself. It just means that they're all in harmony with each other. Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know how deep you wanted the answer to go, but that's where it went. Yeah.
No, no. Yeah, I mean, this practice, like what we're saying, like, yeah, that's the authentic expression of yourself. That's it. And I think I want to ask another question in terms of creative practice. A few years ago, I read this book called Creativity Inc. by Ed Catmull. He's one of the founders of Pixar, and he talked about when you're creating a new thing. In their case, it's animation, right? So they're creating a new concept, a new
Mm,
story for a new animated film. He said it starts out like an ugly that because it's half formed. Like when we were discussing your power stick concept, it's still unformed. It's still delicate. It's still in quotation ugly. It's not really ugly, but when I was a baby, I had a really big head, and the proportions were a bit out of whack and stuff like that. But then the baby will grow and it will look different. And he said you have to be really careful that when it's still at that early stage, people will say a lot of things that can kill the thing from growing. And he related the fact that when Disney kind of simplified the people who were giving directions to the creative people. Like you said, if you don't know anything about creativity, let's say you shouldn't really be telling them or criticizing them because you have no contact. You're killing the thing before it grows. What's your experience with that? Where sometimes the early ideas is, I mean, you want to share them so that you could test them out, but at the same time, sometimes when I know sometimes I think I'm tough, but when I hear criticism, it still hits. I still feel it in my body. I try to have thick skin, but it's still like it's so thin. Like one criticism at the bad time can really make me just give up on a project. I think, and that's where the danger is. When that happens, then the universe has lost that creative thing. But I also want criticism, maybe later on when the baby's stronger maybe, and then I can refine the thing. But when it's first starting, I don't know what to do.
yeah, yeah. No, it's totally relatable, Oliver. Wow. Yeah.
What's
Um,
your experience? Yeah.
my past experience has been, yeah, I've been there. You know, I'm at a really early stage of a project or a really early stage of
Mm.
artwork. I remember doing a lot of, you know, painting and that, and you never show anyone the early stages. Yeah, I developed that really
Mm.
early on. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Don't show anyone. you know, it's not like a hard and fast rule, but it's a lesson that I've learned as well. If you're at a really early stage of a creative concept,
Mm.
let it foster and work on it a little bit more until it's formed. Not so much from a fetus. Don't show them the fetus. You show them like the 10-year-old. Let it grow a little bit. Let it form into something a little
Yeah,
bit
yeah.
more tangible, and refine the concept a little bit more, so that it's not so open. Because if you yeah, because everyone's going to have their own opinions, and something like being creative or creating something, or even videos like this,
Yeah.
something that's not, it's not something that can be measured right and wrong. It's not like 2 + 2 = 4. It's like you like it or you don't like it, or you kind of like it or you hate it, and there's all these kind of different opinions people can have.
Yeah.
And I've been told by some clients before saying, I don't know how you do what you do because it's completely subjective. It's completely based on opinion. How do you create something based on opinion? How do you know people are going to like it? This is
Oh, that's a good question.
how do you know that you're doing a good job? Yeah, so I think it's just kind of the nature of creating something is that you're creating something. I think it kind of beckons it beckons the question as well as to why are you creating it. So if like this looks like a piece of junk to anyone, but you
Mm,
know what it is now. Do you know what I mean? So I
mm,
created this for me, and I created it, and it gives me a feeling of I feel good about my life when I look at it. So it's a bit like if you think it looks terrible, that doesn't really matter to me because I have my own agenda with it. But if I create this as a gift for you and I want you to like it, and you say that looks
mm,
terrible, then I'm going to take that kind of badly. So, that's something else that I've discovered as well.
mm.
Why you create something, will make a difference as to whether other people's opinions will affect you or not. So, um, yeah, I've experienced that a lot. When I was, um, yeah, probably probably about 5 years ago. Yeah, um, if I had created something, if I had done a painting, for example, and um, you know, um, I wouldn't maybe like the look of it. I would have judgment on
Mm.
myself. I would say to myself, that doesn't look good.
Mm.
And I would feel bad about it already. So, whereas, now I'm a little bit refined in the way that I create things. I think to myself, it looks terrible. What can I do with it now so that I'm happy with it? You know, how can I change it around, or how can
Yeah.
I can paint over it completely, or maybe you roll with it, and that's been something that's been really interesting in my one-on-one sessions as well with these paintings, when I'm reading people and painting their energy. There have been times when I've painted people, and I'm using my hands, and I might accidentally slip, or someone might bump me and it goes this way, or will happen there. And the times that I've tried to fix it just didn't really work. So now, um,
Yeah.
going with it. So if my thumb accidentally goes this way, just do the other ones like that. Just go with it. You just got to go with it. So, there's, well, again, the confidence and the courage to just roll with that as well comes in a lot of aspects with creativity. So being confident that it doesn't have to look beautiful. If I was concerned with what I was painting to look beautiful, I would be there erasing the finer details and trying to get it symmetrical and all this stuff. But you just got to roll with it. You just got to roll with it, and that's where the best fun is. Like, how fun would that be?
Mm.
Making a mistake and not having to worry about that. You just make it work. You just make it work. Yeah, yeah.
There's a synchronicity here because before jumping into this live event, I was on the train. I was listening to this podcast, and and it's Jack Cornfield, and I think it's relating about this story of, I think it was Itzhak Rabin. I think he's a virtuoso violin player, and he was playing when he had polio, I think, or he had some in playing. He's really good. And then as he was playing, one of the strings broke in the violin, and then the whole concert hall stopped, and the people were wondering what will happen. Will he get another Stradivarius there? Would someone come in and give it to him?
Well,
Everyone was just watching, and then he just signaled the conductor to go on, and he he continued where it stopped. He continued the piece using strings, and then he finished it. And at the end, apparently, the whole concert hall was silent. And then he said, and I think he said, you know, sometimes as an artist, you have to make something out of what's left in you. So I just
Oh,
remember when
wow.
you're saying when it's ruined now, but actually you can still do something with what's left, even though it's not ideal, right? Even if you lose one string, there is still, and that's creativity. I think that's where when we first started. Creativity is not town in China that the only thing they do is copy masterpieces, but when you buy that, it's you don't. It's not the same, right? I mean, it's an identical copy, but somehow there's a difference. You know, we know there's a difference, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
interesting, right?
yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fascinating.
like
Yeah,
when you have photos, it's not the yeah. Even though it looks exact, not looks, but it's yeah, it's simulacrum of the real thing.
yeah. I think you can. I think you
Yeah,
can kind of extend that lesson into anything in your own life. Really, if things aren't going ideally as to plan and as to the agenda that you put on it, sometimes you just have to make the most of it, and just rolling with it. If your business plan or the plan that you had
yeah,
for, even something as small as meeting a friend, you just roll with it and you just make do with what you've got. If you let those things stop you,
yeah.
then there's no chance of creating something. Then there's no chance of, it's stopped.
Mm,
If there's remnants of something left, then you use what you've got to keep going. Yeah, that's a very valuable lesson, I think, and yeah, it can be applied to many things. Um, yeah, probably
yeah,
a bit of a
I
discussion of
think that's
resilience there as well, but it's probably going into a tangent for another conversation. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I guess is there anything else you would like to say at this for this particular session to
Um,
tie it all up, or
I suppose
I could ask one of those. Yeah, yeah,
I was just going to state kind of like the main the main takeaway message, that I would feel to say, I guess, would be that, you can find creativity in your life, and you would find, when you look, you'd find that you're already being creative anyway. So you may as well
mm,
take that a step further and use that to be courageous in, um, the areas in your life where you might be scared to make change now. Um, if you exercise your creativity in smaller scales, those larger scary things will become a lot easier. Yeah,
if you exercise your creativity in smaller things, then the large things will become easier. Wow.
yeah,
I think that's a good place to,
yeah,
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 the little things make the big things.
yeah.
It's very simple, but very powerful. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Little things make the big things.
Thank you very much, Irene Emily, for your time. And I hope this is was the little things in this thing. And then maybe it can grow. Who knows?
Definitely, Oliver. Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you to the people who have watched, and who have joined us. And yeah, I feel very blessed and very grateful, and yeah, very um, humbled, for sharing this space with you, Oliver. So thank you very much.
My absolute pleasure, and thank you.
Brilliant.
Have a
Brilliant.
good Tuesday night.
Thank you. You too.
everyone,
Everyone.
everyone watching.
Bye-bye. Bye.
And go out and be creative.
Creative. Crazy, crazy creating.
Create.
Successes.
Set the world for creativity. Folks.